And what I'm going to do is share a Miro link with you guys. I'm saying Miro, I keep saying Miro, but Miro is apparently how you pronounce it. I'm going to share a Miro link with you guys, and that's where the games will be played today. So if you guys navigate away there, that will be our virtual whiteboards. And essentially how this works, for anyone who's been before, feel free to grab yourself a cup of coffee or a tea whilst I explain things. But how it works is that we will be bringing you guys into a virtual equivalent of an arcade. So imagine back when COVID wasn't a problem and you could go into an arcade and you could spend coins in whatever game you wanted to play, whether it's Pac-Man or otherwise. Imagine a virtual equivalent of that. We've got a selection of games, 6 games on offer, and we will invite you to spend your virtual tokens on those games. So to dot vote using these coins, and the most popular game, the most chosen games are the one we play. We tend to, in my experience, we tend to have time to play 1, maybe 2 games depending on the game chosen. Some of them are longer than others. And obviously we'll play the game, and through each game there's always things that we discuss and learn about the topic. So the games on offer today are The Broken Message. This is a game about the importance of good communication. The Game of Circles. This is a Scrum simulation. It's a bit like a virtual version of the ballpoint game. Sinking Ships, a Prioritization Dilemma. This is all around prioritization, obviously. So you'll be tasked with prioritizing between saving a certain group of people. Paint Your Points, which is an agile estimation game. You'll be tasked with painting virtual shapes and estimating as you go along. We've got the virtual name game. It's a game all about the importance and the challenges we see when we try and multitask and context switch. And lastly, DIY Dino, which is all around definition of done. I'm just going to bring everyone to where we are on this board. So we should be here. So you can see the messages. See the games. Sorry, you can see the coins that I'm going to grab. Oh, the coins are locked. Hang on a sec. Let's undo that. Mistakenly locked the coins. There we go. So I'm dragging a coin around right now. I will invite you guys to ask any questions about this game, but otherwise vote with your coins. Spend your virtual tokens on the games you're most interested in playing.
How many votes do we get again?
You get 2 votes each, 2 coins, 2 virtual coins for you.
Do any of these games require any type of improv?
No, actually. So I have dabbled with adding I've dabbled with adding a PowerPoint karaoke, and that is very much an improv game. If you are not comfortable working with things on the fly, that one's not for you. But no, none of these games require any improv in future. Most of the games, or pretty much all of the games, will involve you interacting with the virtual whiteboard in some way. Just for awareness, if you are finding there's too many cursors all around, there's a button at the top of the screen next to your own name that says Show Collaborators Cursors. If you press that, it looks like a cursor pointing this way with a little couple of dashes. If you press that, it will hide other collaborators' cursors. If you can't interact with the board, if you can't highlight things and move these coins, make sure you've got the little cursor icon on the far left-hand navigation panel selected. It should highlight blue when it's selected. Or you can press V on your keyboard and that will enable that functionality as well. That's how you drag things. And I can see we've had someone join a little bit late. Srivasta? Srivastava, sorry. My pronunciation's bad. Welcome.
How many votes do we get, sorry?
2 coins. So the winning at the moment is Broken Message.
Can you remind me what Broken Message is about?
It's a game around the importance of good communication. All of these games essentially are either done on virtual whiteboards, or they will link out to other websites where you can interact with the game. I always aspire to leave people with takeaways, so be that the board itself that you can then use with the team you might be working with, be that website you can try it with your team. That's the intent. broken message is one of those ones that will take us out to another website when I introduce the game. So it looks like that's our winner, and then we have Sinking Ships, a Prioritisation Dilemma by the looks of it. So, I will bring us to a broken message. Everyone should... Oh, what did I do there? That's the wrong place. Everyone should be here. So this is a game created by Venn Games. It's the first time I've actually tried to do this en masse. It's going to be 4 people per team, so we'll have to work that out in a moment. But before we do any game, there's always a little bit of contextualizing and connection to the subject matter. So I'd like you guys to share with me on these post-it notes here, what experiences have you had with poor communication, and what experiences have you had with great communication? So where has communication worked for you and not worked for you so much? And if you interact with the post-it notes, if you double-click with those, we can observe and see what people have had. Experiences people have had. Just going to mute people a moment. There we go. If you're speaking, please jump yourself back off mute, just because there's a bit of background noise there. All right. So examples of poor communication: miscommunication, people getting the wrong end of the stick, multiple people working on the same thing, the same item, a lack of understanding of the value of the thing you're working on, the user stories. Someone thinking the project had started, but later found out it had been going on for years. Interesting. Great communication. Chats around a coffee machine. Don't we all miss that? Communicating face to face. Speaking with non-English team members. Fluent pair programming. Sitting next to each other. Experiencing flow. I think we've just moved one to the other side. So language challenges was one mentioned there. Someone just tried to join. Someone rejoining.
Rejoining.
Ah. Mob programming, yeah. Right, finish up the last one and we'll have a quick discussion about some of these. A Kanban board with 24 columns? That sounds excessive, if I'm honest. Just a bit excessive. Lots of states of workflow.
Yeah, I'm being generous saying it's a Kanban board. It was basically 24 columns. They didn't even go from left to right either. They it was very strange.
But the problem is, so what challenges did that cause, Pete?
It was very difficult to see what actually was being worked on at this moment in time. It was almost like there was the normal Kanban columns, but also some columns for like epics.
Okay.
And they decided that there was a to-do column, but also certain colours meant to do as well. So you had to have some kind of, Lieutenant Commander data way of perceiving the things in front of you. It was more computed.
Does anyone know what Kanban stands for?
It's a signal.
Tim? Hand up.
Signboard, right? Does it mean signboard?
I think the technical translation was visual card, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, it actually stands for signal. It's basically
Signal.
It's a
Okay.
signal. Yeah, that's what it is. That's what Kanban means.
I stand corrected then.
Yes.
But I guess the point is if you've got a Kanban board that's so complex that you can't tell where things are, that's not great.
No. Being a Kanban trainer, there's obviously I'm going to defend Kanban boards, but yeah. So, but it's to do with the flow, really.
Sure.
So it's up to the team how they create the flow.
Okay.
It was more of a can't ban board than a can ban board.
Yeah.
It sounds like they just end up creating a mishmash of whatever.
Sure. And coming back to some of these examples of good communication, these are good examples. But what were the consequences of these things? So the ability to chat face to face, things around a coffee machine, fluent pair programming.
Also getting into the truth.
Yeah, so it's a clear understanding as to what people were working on. Quicker, better results, I imagine. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to play this game. So the way it works, as I said, we're going to divide into groups of 4. So I'd like you guys to split yourselves up into groups of 4 accordingly. There are, if I bring everyone to where we are, we should have 12 people on this board. And so therefore we've got 3 teams of 4. Team Mario, Team Sonic and Team Pac-Man. If you put your names on the post-it notes accordingly, that will help us form our teams. Unless, again, Tim really wants to be Team Link. Team Link. In which case, ignore Team Mario, everyone join Team Link, Team Pac-Man or Team Sonic.
I do like that without fail, whichever names you call out, we always pick one of the other ones.
Yeah, it happens. No one's gone for Team Zelda or Team Knuckles yet, though. It happens every time. Evening Stuart, you joins?
I'm willing to bounce. I'll go to Sonic.
Alright, we've got Team Sonic, we need one person to join Pac-Man. I guess the other... We'll just do 2 teams then, I think, by the looks of it. Perhaps the others can observe.
Sorry, I'm having trouble unmuting. And, again, having trouble putting myself on a post-it note or being able to write to them.
Alright,
I'm sure I figured it out last time, but...
Let's put you in Team Pac-Man then.
Sounds good.
Alright. Right, so we've got Tim, Stuart, Lucy, Nadeem in Team Sonic. We've got Nick, Yasir, Mary and Pete in Team Pac-Man. Basically, the aim of this game is you're gonna be navigated to this website. Ignore. I've just realised the brief there is completely irrelevant. I must have forgot to update that. You'll be navigated to a separate website, and you'll be joining a team. You should be able to do so for free. It's a free service to play for groups of 4. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to share my screen and make sure you guys can see how to set it up. And then I'll send you guys into breakout rooms and then you'll play the game. It's a relatively quick one. The game, in terms of elapsed time, if you play a single round, it should only last about 5 minutes. This game is a great way, I find, just to emphasise with your team the importance of having clear, concise, good communication, because it will highlight what happens when you don't have that clear communication. So let me just share my screen. Dan, if you give me a thumbs up when you can see that I'm sharing. It should be... coming across. Should be seeing like a meat butter section now, a screen within a screen within a screen.
That's the one.
Yeah, cool. So you can land on this website, sorry, and there's a number of games they have. We're looking to play the one called Broken Message. So basically, we need in these groups of 4, we need one person to instigate setting up the game. You'll go select Broken Message, go to Get Started. You'll go to Continue without login. You don't need to log in. And you'll basically play and you'll set it up. And that's something from a previous round, obviously. Now you'll just give yourself, you'll put your own name in, and then you'll basically share this link with your other teammates. So you can do so by the breakout room chat. You can share that link, and then people can join. And then essentially you'll play the game. Beyond that, I'm not going to tell you anything because it will spoil the game. Does anyone have any questions?
Where is the link for this website?
So if you click, but where it shows Team Pac-Man, you've got an image of Pac-Man, and where it shows the link, there's a little arrow. If you click that, that will take you out to the website. Any of the icons there, Sonic, Pac-Man link, they'll all have the same link out to the website. So can
My mirror board is still loading up here. I'm just getting a white board. I don't know what's happening.
So I didn't quite catch that. What did you say?
So my mirror board, I can't see anything in there. Shall I zoom out?
I also don't see this team's assignment. Now
I'm in.
I see.
Right. So what will happen is you'll click this link. You'll land on the Venn Games website. I'll just walk people through it again. So you land on the Venn Games website. You will scroll down. You'll select playing and make sure you press continue without login. And then from there, someone will be able to basically create the room for you.
Oh, I'm losing.
And that will allow you to...
Chris.
Pac-Man, I've got a link set up.
Yeah, we've got Team
Excellent.
Pac-Man.
How do you like the...
Share it with us in the chat.
Yeah, it's in the chat now.
How do I join the breakout rooms?
I will set them up in a moment. Okay. I was just making sure that the game was...
the link in the chat.
So I'm just going to enable the breakout rooms. So the breakout rooms are going to appear. What will happen is at the top of your screen, I'll show you, the breakout rooms will appear, and then you can self-navigate and go and join your team's breakout room. So each team, Sonic, Pac-Man, Mario, etc., have their own breakout room. So it should appear here, and you should be able to press this drop down, and you can see the rooms will appear. So everyone is now freely able to go and navigate to their room.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah. What I'd recommend is...
Hello, we are here.
I'll join and observe Team Sonic. Dan can join and observe.
I see everybody's having lots of fun.
I can see
Yeah.
Mary Ellen's in Team Pac-Man.
Team Sonic.
All okay, Stuart?
Hello. You can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Are you able to get to the breakout room?
No, I think I'm... Where shall I click?
So at the top of your screen, there should be like 4 little squares that says main room. And if you press the drop down there, it will allow you to select your breakout room for your team.
So I can join where I like to join?
Yeah, join, I think, Team Pac-Man, I think that was your, was it, did you, which team did you put yourself against?
There we go. That's Chris.
Hi.
Hey, Chris.
So we've got a game.
What? Yeah.
There's Stuart.
Tim has kindly created the game.
Hey guys, sorry, not drilling the wrong one.
Just posted the link for our site, so click that, and then you can add your name and choose your avatar.
And what
then
would you do if someone
permission to
wouldn't
start
mind-
the game then.
If someone wouldn't mind sharing their screen, then and the can see as well. So sharing their screen with an indicator. Is there an option for that? Thank you.
There's only 4 players to sit out.
Yeah, so unfortunately, yeah, it's a four.
I think Chris is just
game, but I've just where you can share the screen. Tim's sharing it so we can observe the game being played.
Yeah, that works.
So we've got a group of 4. It looks like we can start the game.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Ready? It says everyone should be seeing their own screen. It says write your word or phrase. Make sure it's not too hard or easy to draw, and just watch what happens.
Okay.
Oh, that's a difficult one.
Now we know which one is yours.
Don't worry too much. Don't worry too much. Obviously, what will usually happen is no one can see anyone else's, and that's part of the fun, right? So when these 10 seconds are up, people are going to be able to draw something that everyone else has just written. So, Tim, you've now got to draw a beach.
Oh, draw. Okay. Okay.
So I'm going to draw a football.
So after this, try not to say what it is you're drawing. You need to try and maintain that.
Oh, sorry. Are you sharing your screen, Tim?
Tim is sharing.
Yeah, I think I am.
I don't think you should be sharing your screen.
No, I asked him to share the screen because then the people that are watching this video later can see how the game works.
All right. Okay.
All right. So drawings happens. Again, nobody should be saying what they're seeing. Now you've got to guess what that is. So type it in, Tim. What are you seeing there? Alright, so Nadeem wrote Formula 1 car racing, and then drew, yeah, it's got a 1 on it, looks like a car. Someone then wrote a car, and then Tim drew a car, pretty good. And then we had a football, which turned out like potentially a cake to someone. And now someone started drawing a cake. And then we had Ivan wrote beach after seeing something. Also, Tim then drew a beach, and then this one looks like it's good. And then what have we got next? Garden.
Garden.
Oh, okay.
Super good.
So garden became forest.
Oh, not.
That's fun.
Cool.
So yeah, I said it's a very, very simple, easy game. And what do we think that's an example of? anyone think of a real life
like
game,
me.
a real life game that children often play?
Telephone game.
Whispers.
Chinese Whispers. It's a virtual version of Chinese Whispers. You write something down, someone then draws to it, someone then guesses what they've drawn, and as you saw, some of them were quite good. You know, they followed all the way through. Some of them became something else, and then someone interpreted that differently and drew something else entirely. A football that became a cake. Now, what was interesting as well is someone wrote football. Someone wrote a soccer ball, so an American football might have been a ball, and it might have changed entirely. So again, it depends on what the perspective through which someone interprets something can alter the message also. So you guys are welcome to play that again. Just again, I found this fun, and actually I've done this at Christmas Eve, you know, with friends whilst drunk, just to get us doing something different on a Zoom call, right? And you can make funny nicknames for each other and things like that. It's also a great exercise for a Friday afternoon. Things up a little. When we go back to the main room after the other team have played as well, we'll then discuss why it's important to have a really clear and concise message. You know, if we have a situation where you write an unclear user story, for example, or there's an undefined, not very clear requirement, the consequence is someone might create something that was completely unintended, that wasn't intended to be that way, that doesn't actually meet what was originally being asked for. But we'll come back to that moment. So I'm going to jump back into the main room if you guys want to step across there also. And I'm just going to check in on how the other team are doing.
That's my potato.
So pen, get up my pen, so no description.
Why is it that Saeed writes no description? Who's Saeed?
I think it's by default, isn't it? If you miss it, it says no description.
Yeah, if someone didn't write in time, it will automatically populate with no description.
So is this like Chinese Whispers?
That's what I was about to say. This is a virtual version. This is a virtual version of Chinese Whispers. If you what you'll see is someone will write something. Someone will then try to draw based on what they wrote. Then write what they think the previous person has drawn, and often the consequence is something begins okay and then ends up being diluted away from what it intended. What we're going to do is we're going to go back to the main breakout room, and discuss as a group why this is important, why clear communication is important. But essentially, this is in my experience, it's a great way to highlight the importance of good communication with the team. It's a fun little exercise to play on a Friday afternoon. I've even played it while drunk with friends on New Year's Eve, just to get people talking and doing something different. It can be quite amusing. So let's jump back into the main room, and I'll end the breakout.
Okay.
We need to select from the drop down, isn't it?
Yes. Well, I'm going to end the breakout room anyway, so you'll appear straight there.
Okay.
In Texas, USA.
Yeah, all my family's around Philadelphia. I'm in the UK. I'm in the UK, but
yeah,
most
I love
of my
Philadelphia.
family's in the Philadelphia area. Do you? Why?
So I went to Philadelphia, so I don't know if y'all know much about American football or anything, but the Dallas Cowboys, which is my team, versus the Philadelphia Eagles, they are mortal enemies. And I was excited. I took a trip to Philadelphia, and I was expecting to get, they call it the city of brotherly shove. They're mean. I was expecting, but they just won the Super Bowl. And everybody was in a good mood, so I don't think I really got a good Philadelphia experience. I think everyone was happy and excited, and I was really looking forward to, looking for some anger and some, just people being, just ornery.
Yeah, Tim, I'm a Packers fan. Don't have any. I've got a load of Packers stuff. It's just not in this room. I'd have to run upstairs to go and get it. Jerseys and balls and all sorts. Right, we've got everyone back now. So again, this is a very, very quick, easy game, just to emphasise the importance of good communication. And the way this translates to the agile delivery world is if you have a story, a requirement, something a team is working on that hasn't been very well written, hasn't been very well articulated behind it is, as you can see from that Chinese Whispers game, bad things can happen. You end up with a football being translated into a cake. What happened in one of the games? You have this is one of agile ceremonies in particular are useful. If you think about a daily stand-up, you have a very fast feedback loop with your team to regularly check in with one another and ensure that you're all headed on the right trajectory. And if there is a problem, people can highlight that quickly. Whereas if you don't have that regular feedback, it could be that you build something a week later, you're showing someone something and say, well, that's not what we were looking for. It wasn't quite right. And again, this is why I always advocate for the customer being as involved as they can be, whether that's someone in the business, whether that's the actual end user. If you can get them as involved as possible, and anchor the team to how frequently they're engaging those end users, again, odds are what you're going to be producing is more likely to be what they're looking for. If I bring everyone back to the Miro boards, we're going to do a bit of a conclusion on this session, on this game. So, are there any observations you guys had while playing this game? How could you enable better communication in the workplace? And then lastly, what support do you think you would need to enable better communication with your teams? Again, on the post-it notes. And then when we've finished this, we'll jump into the next game, which is the Prioritization Demo, which I believe Dan is going to facilitate.
Can you post the link to the Miro board again? Sorry, close it down.
Yes, I can. Oh, yes, I can. Hold on.
There you go.
Oh, Dan's done it.
Thank you.
Alright, so what did we learn or observe through playing this game? It was simple. Importance of having rules of engagement. Yep, team working agreements, fantastic. I'm a huge fan of team alliances, team charters and things like that. Clear communication is needed. Picture without context is not always understandable. I like this because how many of you have seen a situation where a user story is just a snapshot of something and then that's it? Maybe it's just a screenshot of a bit of code, maybe it's just a picture, maybe it's just a Figma file or something and it's just designed that. Is that enough information? Importance of everyone looking at the same thing. One-to-one communication doesn't always work. So yeah, a walkthrough of the game probably would have helped better articulate this. I kind of wanted to be, I didn't want to walk everyone through it exactly because I didn't want to give away how the game works, if you get me. But I can definitely work on being clear with explaining how the game works. I like what someone said here about enabling better communication in the workplace. The message with context. Isn't context just really, really key?
Actually, mind to share your screen because my Miro is not working. I think it's still loading. I don't know.
Is anyone else having an issue with the Miro boards? Maybe try reopening it, Zahid?
Yeah, sure. Let me try. I just refreshed it.
I can say that in Firefox took me a long while to load. So maybe the browser is important here.
When I opened Miro board, my entire system got crashed and I just had to restart my machine and that's why it took me forever to join and
making sure people involved know and understands, trying to involve everyone in the team, really good. Enabling better communication, deeper description, a willingness to improve communication. Yeah, I mean, how often does the topic of communication come up at retrospectives? Genuinely, that's probably something that teams maybe talk about early on, but then don't talk about often enough. Is how we communicate.
A lot of time, I hear teams saying they want. A lot of times, the teams say they want better communication, but how do you measure that? Like, what does better mean? That's what confuses me anyway.
Sure. I mean, ultimately, I would say there's not exactly a metric for better communication as such, but it's going to be that qualitative view, people's feeling over time, and maybe it is one of those simple, emoji scale where sad emoji means awful communication, happy emoji means great communication, and every sprint you go, how was it this sprint? And you just mark it, and then over time you can start to see whether there's an increase or a decrease. I probably try not to overthink it.
I think
as simplistically as you can.
Better communication is something that the team has to define, because I mean it could be different for different people. So I mean,
yeah, very true.
You need to have that discussion where you
a business user as well. If their satisfaction level is high, that definitely because of the
yeah. Right. So that was a broken message. As I said, I recommend playing that with a team on a Friday just to highlight the importance of clear communication and the consequences if you don't have clear communication. I'm going to hand over to Dan now to lead the Prioritisation Dilemma game. Let me know what you need, Dan.
I think we just need to get people navigated over to the board. I think if you want to start off over there and drag everyone over, that would probably be the easiest.
Right, so we should be at Sinking Ships, a Prioritisation Dilemma. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
It's a great start then. So, as we covered, this is a prioritisation dilemma. So the purpose of this is to just kind of give us an exercise where we can practice some prioritisation skills and sort of review just how we assign a criteria to how we want to prioritise items and different ways of how different people's perspectives can give us a different opinion on things. So to start off with, we'll do a little bit of a connection exercise like we did for the previous one. So there's 2 questions on the board. What good practices have you seen for prioritising a backlog? And what challenges have you faced when working to get a backlog prioritised? So we just have a couple of minutes to share some thoughts on those. We'll have a quick discussion and then we'll move on to the game. Also, apologies if I do have to drop onto mute every now and then. I may have a screaming newborn in the background.
I'm sure you can be forgiven for that.
So, what are some of the good practices we noted down? So, using cost of delay to prioritise. Start with identifying the value, a risk assessment to determine the priority, sequential ordering, involving stakeholders for impact assessments, and some of the challenges we faced, Moscow and having everything as the M under Moscow.
Yeah, that was me. Yeah. I was working with a large organisation, said, right, let's try Moscow, and everything was a must-have. I'm like, okay, let's try 1, 2, 3. 1 being high priority and 3 being low priority. Okay, everything's a 1.
Yeah, this is that's paralysis by the fact that every stakeholder thinks their thing is the most high priority thing, right? I've had a situation where a company had a 1 to 10 rating for priority, and nothing was lower than an 8. Everything was like 8, 9, or 10, and it meant that you couldn't actually tell what was more important than one another because everyone was gaming the system, knowing that if I put mine lower than an 8, it's not going to even get looked at.
Yeah, I've noticed sometimes from experiences when you're working with teams, Chris, high, medium, low tends to work slightly better than Moscow or numbers 1 to 3. So I think people tend to understand that better. But then again, everybody's different.
I always go for high.
Yeah. I know the pain all too well. We currently, my current company decided to look briefly at a 13-point scale, and we kind of went, that seems a little excessive. And ironically, yeah, only the top 2 were ever used. So you kind of went, well, you just want a 2-point scale, and we'll just categorize it as we're doing it now, or it's never going to be done.
I think that's probably why I've moved from that Moscow or high, medium, low or something like that to the cost of delay, because people tend to, when you explain it to them, you have a pain explaining it, but once you explain it, they seem to understand it slightly better.
What I like about
definitely previous experience.
Cost of delay, I find, helps remove some of the subjectivity from it.
Yeah.
It helps focus things, especially when you use, for example, weighted shortest job first alongside cost of delay. It's not a perfect.
Yes.
It's not a perfect system.
Yeah.
It's not a perfect system, but it does input some key variables like how critical is it? Will it reduce risk and exploit opportunities and things like that? And that helps remove some of the emotion from it. Whereas I think just a straight high, medium, low, or 1 to 10 can be gained a bit more.
Yeah. I've experienced lately, governmental departments where they're working with huge budgets and all that tend to go for the Moscow, and they're not too bothered about the cost of delay. Having meetings about meetings.
So we've got a couple other people who've called those out as well. So start with identifying the value and risk assessment to determine priority is some good practices that help us for prioritizing the backlog. Some of the other ones that haven't worked so well, spreadsheet lists, no prioritization at all, too many stakeholders, conflicting priorities across those different stakeholders as well, too many cooks, so a lot of stakeholders can often be difficult, so we'll see how everyone handles everyone being a stakeholder in a minute. Everything is needed and more than one backlog. It's always great to have 3 or 4 backlogs at the same time for the same group of people.
Yeah, excellent.
Cool. There we have only high, medium and low as the priorities. So if we move across to the right, we should hopefully find the game. We'll keep this nice and simple. Everyone divided into Team Sonic and Team Pac-Man before. Fortunately, we can have more than 4 people in a group this time, so I think Team Sonic and Team Pac-Man are probably still the ways forward. So if you want to divide yourself between the two.
Let's keep the names, and then same thing will apply. We'll have breakout rooms. I'll join one, Dan will join the other to facilitate. You don't have to join the same team name as you were previously. You could go from Pac-Man to Sonic if you're feeling it. Mary, would you like us to put you in a team?
Are the rooms there?
They're not open yet, but
Are we doing it on the mirror board?
yeah,
They will be on the Miro board.
I'll chuck you into Team Sonic again.
There we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Who's missing?
I know.
Zahid is missing.
Yeah, I'm not there.
Which team would you like to be in?
Pac-Man?
Cool. Well, add you to Pac-Man then.
Alright, Zahid and Team Pac-Man. And I've got Srivastar.
Me.
Did you manage to get Nero working?
I don't. Maybe I'll go for Pac-Man then.
Okay, sure.
Cool.
Thank you.
So we're six in one team, 4 in another. Should we try and make it 5 and 5?
We can do. Any willing volunteers?
I can move over.
That's to experience the new dark side or a different team.
There we go.
Yeah.
Right, I'm going to open up the rooms, but in the meantime, Dan, if you want to start explaining the game.
Yep, so in this exercise, there is a... So yeah, in this exercise, there's a sinking ship. You'll have a list of people that you can save. It takes a minute to save each person that you want to save, and you have 10 minutes in total. The timer will start as soon as the breakout rooms are open and people have moved across to them. We'll display the list of names you decide. Completely up to your teams how you want to prioritize them. We give you no guiders, no kind of pinpoints as to which way to go. You can decide amongst yourselves. And at the end of the 10 minutes, we'll bring you all back and see who's been saved and who hasn't. Happy saving.
Just very quickly, I've just unlocked the boards and brought you to where they are. Don't start yet, but that's your list of people. And yeah, you'll have 8 minutes to save as many people as possible. Any quick questions before we start?
Where is the link for that page?
It's all in Miro. So what I would recommend is if you're struggling to access Miro, if someone in your group can just share their screen when you go into the breakout rooms, you only really need to see, only one person really needs to see and share it with everyone. It's down to the rest of you then to agree your priority order based on who you save.
Exactly that. Chris, which one do you want to go to? Sonic or Pac-Man?
I'll jump in Pac-Man.
Cool. I'll go to Sonic then.
Right,
See you in a minute.
over to the breakout rooms, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, let's go to Team Pac.
Group is like team.
Oh, I'm looking at Team Sonic. Ah, here we are, Team Pac. Right, yeah. Oh, I got you, yeah. Scroll to the right.
It's the same list of celebrities, guys. Same list of celebrities for both teams. Just make sure you're updating Team Pac-Man. It might make sense for one of you to be the scribe, writing down the name and the time you save them at. But otherwise, I'm going to start the timer now, and you have 8 minutes to save as many people as you think you can, and discuss which ones you save in which order. Timer is starting now.
So,
Who is going to share the screen?
okay.
My one is working.
Let's say Ronaldo first.
Share your screen?
Why is that?
Somebody like to share the screen?
Why Ronaldo first?
It should be on your Miro. Ahead.
Yeah. My move is not loading. That's what the trouble is.
Because Ronaldo is like a perfect performer, so he always.
Yeah, my mirror is start working. So Ronaldo, you said one. So what we need to write? Name and time.
I'll share my screen for you guys.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay.
Great graphic cut, or should I just be nice?
Okay, so you were saying that you want to save Ronaldo first?
Yes, please.
Okay.
What area?
Because
He's a leader.
he's a leader and he performs. He always gives 100%.
Yeah, but he's like 30 years old, so he's coming to the end of his career. Whereas Ariana Grande is in the prime of her career.
That's how old you are.
Yeah.
Okay. What about voting or something like that?
Yeah.
Otherwise, we run into the risk of not saving anyone. Maybe. So I'm okay with saving first. It wouldn't be my first option, but
You need to save as
Sorry,
many
say that
people as you
again,
can.
Chris. Kind of breaking up.
So it's a really valid point. You need to save as many people as you can.
So we need to save. Yeah.
Yeah, and each person takes 1 minute to
Irrespective.
save. Takes 1 minute to save a person. So all this talking means you're not saving anyone.
Breaking up.
no.
Yeah.
Okay. So what about we make a round and we pick one person to save? Srivastas pick Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Who wants to save someone else? Who else?
Can I type him in?
Ronaldo is good.
Okay.
1% to fill to update it.
Yeah. The next one.
Nick, you could be the scribe, yeah?
Yeah, I'm doing it now.
To note down the
Let me
time
select
that
the
was
second
remaining.
one.
The time that was remaining when you voted for that person. So it was about 5 minutes. 30.
5 minutes 30, that'll do. Yeah.
Okay. I go next. I'm going to go for Donald Trump.
Okay.
Oh my
Why
God.
not?
Okay.
Why not?
Bigly.
I don't think I would actually say it, to be honest, but anyway.
Okay. Who goes
Remember,
next?
it takes 1 minute to save a person, so you can't do it at 4 minutes. It has to be 4 minutes 30 is the next one you can do.
Okay.
Okay. Ah,
So you can now only save 4 more people based on the time you have. Assuming
Who's
you
next?
can agree.
Can I go next?
Yes.
Go for it.
Ariana Grande.
Okay.
That should be good. Yeah.
And the next person.
Sports you've mentioned her.
Big fan, you know.
Sahid, do you go? I go?
You go.
Okay, I save Dalai Lama. Yeah,
Okay.
Dalai Lama. It's okay for me.
The 14th.
And next one, I think I will go to Serena Williams.
Okay.
Dalai Lama, though. They could just make a new Dalai Lama.
Yeah.
So why is the time as a minute?
Because the rule says only we can save one person in a boat for every minute. So basically we are just going in a boat, saving one person and bringing him to the land.
So imagine your ship's sinking in the ocean and you've got like a life raft or a rowboat and you're rowing back and forth from this island, saving people one at a time. It takes a minute each time you do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Imagine Donald Trump complaining about how slow we're going.
Yeah. Last person.
Last person, you do the honors, I guess.
Let's save Jeff.
Is it me again? Who's going next? We voted for Ronaldo. You get a second go.
Okay. I voted Ronaldo, so next time I'm going to go for Jeff Sutherland.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Who's he?
Mr.
He's the guy
the
who
work half the time.
I would have gone for Lionel Richie, a bit of a sing-song.
Yeah.
Guys, you've agreed your list. You've agreed your list.
The time for the next one.
Bear
Are
in
we
mind,
done?
you've got 2 minutes left, so the
See, I don't know who some of these people are.
Yeah.
They could be like world scientists for all I know.
So, I can guarantee you there is no world-class scientist here. I said.
He's everything.
Who's Naruto?
No idea.
Emperor
He's
of Japan.
Japanese PM,
Emperor of
not
Japan.
PM, but
It was the emperor, what be?
That was Hirohito, wasn't it?
The emperor, I think, right?
Yeah, the Emperor of Japan.
18 years.
he's a South African cricketer.
Oh, he's a cricketer. Oh no! What a stat-
Yeah,
You've still got time. You can still switch out Jeff if
he's
you
a good
want.
bowler. Yeah.
You can sacrifice Jeff in favour of the cricketer if you want.
I think I'm going to take Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Trump's safe. Trump's safe. You can't change him now.
I'm going to go for Lionel Richie instead.
No. Trump was safe.
Yeah,
You can't change
that's
him now.
good.
It's done.
Oh.
He was your second favourite one,
Let's
guys.
see,
That was
okay.
your vote. And I didn't really hear much objection, which was strange.
With whom?
Yeah. It was just one stakeholder opinion.
Alright, so you've still got 20 seconds. Do you want to change
Sorry?
Jeff or are we happy with Jeff?
I'm fine with you.
Who's Anushka Sharma? Does anyone know?
Yeah, she's an Indian actress, famous actress, and she's also wife of Indian cricket captain Virat Kohli.
Oh,
So she's already.
Virat Kohli. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, looks like
I
this
like
is
the
the
round
vote, guys.
robin approach.
So what we're going to do is we're going to rejoin the main group and discuss, how, compare how each chose, what selection criteria they used, and so forth. Some observations as well. So I heard, basically your approach was people take turns, and that allowed you to get to a list quicker, but there wasn't as much debate around who was. And then at the end you started to okay, well, there was some selection criteria we could have used. So if you guys jump back into the main room.
Yes.
If you guys jump back into the main room.
Uh-huh.
Main room?
Main room, yes.
They started saving people before we did.
They're cheating.
Contentious.
Chris, that was my team really let me down. I voted, just to let you know, I voted for Donald Trump. I want to save him first. But they didn't let me.
He didn't even save.
Well, he's on our boat. He's on our boat.
Yeah.
Right, so I think we've got everyone back now. I think we've got everyone back.
So how do people find it? We know Donald Trump was somewhat contentious in terms of his placement. Any other names that says people? Anyone in a different position they'd be?
We weren't really sure why Lionel Richie was on there. There might be something that we just didn't know.
Lionel, he's just a great musician, isn't he?
Just that we like his music.
So
one thing I'm thinking is like if you don't know the person, and how would you actually see who is more important to save?
So it's an interesting question.
Yeah, we have a team of people. Yeah, and then everybody can bring their knowledge to the table and share it. So that should help you understand. You know, because different people knew who different.
Always take the you don't know where to prioritize. You don't have enough information on. You know, maybe that's an item that you have a spike for. Maybe it's something you go out, like say, and research before you necessarily assign a priority to. Obviously, this exercise gives you a bit more of a time constraint.
6 minutes.
Cool. So, yeah, any contentious names? Anybody who thinks they've got the placement absolutely wrong?
One Sonic team. Mary and Tim bullied me out. I want to save them, but they said no.
So, interestingly, out of our earlier conversation about how we prioritize things, what logic did people put behind prioritizing? What was the thing that designated the most value in terms of saving someone for each team?
The greatest value.
Team Pac-Man had no criteria. It was kind of a round robin.
Initially we started with Ronaldo because he's like a performer, and but then we also had this saying that he's past his prime, and we were and they were different. Then we started giving an opportunity to everyone, so that we want to save as many people as we can before the times runs out. So that was our choice.
So I think there's an argument that could be made that you can't save anybody second, and that's probably a bit too tough. So that means you can save a maximum of... How did the teams do? I think we got 7 out of Team Sonic, and we got 6 people out of Team Pac. Around be number one, and you spend so long thinking about that, you don't actually decide number one for the vice. Put Boris in. Ironically, I thought Boris was less contentious than Donald, and I think I was proven right with our conversations.
I think for Team Sonic, in all honesty, what I tried to do with my team was, you go with emotional, or you try to be disruptive in your team, or try to throw, a banana skin there. And so I think that's what I tried to do with my team. And that happens. That actually happens. It happened to me today. Ironically,
I thought the team gelled really well around just preventing you from trying to sabotage it. They were so adamant that they were going to go, no, we're all going to align to this right choice because we don't want to let you have yours.
Yeah, so I just, to be fair, I agreed with them, but what I did was I just played out something that happened to me on the day. So I thought, right, I'm going to be the awkward one and see what we do. And I thought at one point, I thought you guys were going to beat me up and block me.
Virtual meeting.
So in terms of our criteria for how we prioritize them, we didn't look to say age as a criteria or impact to the world or how much of a good Samaritan the person was. So notice there's a couple that tended to stay in quite a similar place. So the Dalai Lama, they made number 4, so they're quite up there. Ariana Grande's 2 and 3 in both lists, so she's done quite well. Serena Williams 3 and 5, Ronaldo and 4. So they've all kind of kept the top area. So I guess there's an element there in terms of their perception, in terms of what they do in the world, and I guess breaking down boundaries potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found our team, some of these faces aren't recognizable to some of us, and so they were able to make a case, like Sheik is married to the top cricket player, but also is an advocate for, I didn't know any of this stuff, so that was interesting, so.
Yeah, but you knew who Katie Price was, though, didn't you, Tim? Right?
I don't. No, I don't know who that is.
Come on.
I don't.
So Katie Price.
So ironically as well. Yeah. So that's what I did to Team Sonic. I pitched to them that essentially Katie Price and Anushka Sharma both have children that are heavily dependent on them. Katie Price due to having a disabled son, and Anushka Sharma has a 1-month-old baby. And the team just went, yeah, that'd be fine.
Katie Price, if you keep up to date with the news.
There you go. So
that is a bit controversial. The reason why she's putting me to care was she wants me to learn, try to be self-sufficient.
But he don't need her though, so none of us prioritize her.
I said his money was better for him than it was.
But then, yeah, Anushka Sharma with the 1-month-old, the team also went, yeah, she'll probably be fine. It doesn't matter. Okay. Move up the screen ever so slightly, and Chris, if you could do me the honours of bringing everyone on the board. We've just got a little debrief area as well, so just a few sticky notes and a few other things that we can discuss. So the 3 questions are: what challenges did you observe whilst playing? What did you learn about prioritisation? And also, what would you do differently now that you know what other people have done and now that you've got the hindsight of the exercise going into it? We'll just have a brief open discussion about that for a few minutes, and then I'll hand it back to Chris for the wrap-up. So yeah, I'll read some of these out as we go through, but if people do want to elaborate on them, feel free to jump in. So getting emotional and not being a team player, trying to go against the team. So that's one we obviously covered with the Donald Trump saga and team.
Yeah, you knew that one, me, didn't you?
Let's see, the next one, differing criteria for prioritization. So that's the other thing that I find quite entertaining with using celebrities as well, rather than backlog items and where it transfers, is with backlog items, it can be very easy to make a tangible, objective viewpoint as to this is the value it's going to deliver, this is the cost of us not doing it right now. Celebrities, different people have different favorites and they value people on different aspects. So you can have, as long as you change out 1 or 2 group members, you could run the group with essentially the same people and you would still get a different viewpoint each time based on how much they valued certain individuals.
But could the reason also for having a product owner be that, then you have one person who's taking the final decision? Otherwise it could end up being analysis paralysis.
And that was something we identified over in Team Sonic as well. Was there was somebody did raise halfway through of going, so are we doing a democracy or a dictatorship because I'm not being heard here? And it's true. There's teams have different ways of doing it, and a product owner has been seen as quite an easy way to go. At least there is a single voice who can make that final call if we need one.
I guess where I would challenge that is, for me, a good product owner doesn't necessarily come to the team with a defined solution or it must be this way. Any good user story for me should be negotiable and comfortable, okay to challenge and say, okay, we understand what you're looking for, but maybe we disagree on the way it is, or maybe there's a different doing it, and maybe negotiate the scope of it slightly. based on what they know because they're the experts.
No, because I'm thinking also that, you know, I mean, my point about differing criteria was that you do not have a strategic kind of way of selecting what you want to produce. And, you know, like everyone has their own likes and dislikes, then, you know, you do not reach an agreement or something. So at least if you have, as a product owner, deciding that, okay, this is the strategic, I mean, he's not deciding what you need. Is what is the maximum value, irrespective of how popular it is or if it's not popular, but that's what we're going to be taking. So
yeah, definitely. So a few more ones to call out on here, I think. So not knowing some of the people on the list or not recognizing some of the faces. So we had a brief discussion earlier about the challenges of sort of prioritizing items that we don't have the full understanding of. Different understanding of the prioritization criteria and the criteria who to save. So having that idea of what is your priority? How do we determine priority? One interesting one on here as well. Lost time is you spent most time choosing the high priority. One of the conversations that we often have is you go into a sprint backlog, you probably have your top 3-4 items out of say 20. Does it really matter which one's number 1 and which one's number 2 if you're going to complete all of the top 5? This, you need to bother looking at it because you know it's just not going to make the cut. And that can save you.
It's going to be Donald Trump.
This is why I recommend teams that they refine things or consider things at the last responsible moment. So there's no point having a fully refined backlog that's got 3 months worth of work, because by the time you get around to doing some of the last things on that backlog, they may not be relevant anymore, and you may have wasted time preparing it, and that's a lot of inefficiency there. So we really should be focusing on the near term, really, rather than having everything perfect. I do have having a clear list of stories that are ready to go, but maybe not over-refining. Not everything in your backlog needs to be in a perfect ready state.
Agreed.
Also, cherry picking stuff from the backlog. So some developers may be always using the easy ones to do first, and then they would be saying that okay, or maybe saying this would take so many hours, or or even though if it is like a task which is, let's say, an 8 or a 5, maybe they're saying it's a 13, and there might be differences of opinion, and that's also maybe, does it make sense?
Yeah, for sure. It can all have an impact, and that's kind of, I guess, one of the good points of, if people can provide an objective reasoning and some sort of objective evidence as to why this is a good idea and we align to this, it can really help a case. Otherwise, it can be very subjective. It can be this person said this person said that, and we don't know which way to jump, and that can cause a lot of confusion. Cool. And what would you do differently? Just some other ideas, because people can potentially take these away. So making sure to ask why, creating a plan on what agenda we're going to use to prioritize. So creating that definition of, definition of ready, definition of priority. Ask first about the details and get the information behind the items. And then potentially quicker decisions, maybe using dot voting of just let's get us a number 1 as quickly as possible with a bit of dot voting. And then we'll go through the list that way. Cool. Any last comments anyone wants?
I was just sad. I think imperfect action is better than no action. So when we're in a situation where we're spending hours taking action, ask for forgiveness later, iterate based on what you learn, those sorts of things, rather than spending ages just talking about it. A little less conversation sometimes, a little more action could be great.
Yeah.
I think so. It's all. I mean, I put the point about ask why, because for us, when Donald Trump came up, we were all. Maybe okay, Donald Trump is a bad example in this one, but then it's always a good idea to ask why that person is insisting on prioritizing something. Maybe they know something that you don't know.
Yeah, I mean, in a time-pressured game like
Thank you,
this...
Yasser, for sticking up for me. Thank you.
Yeah, well done, well done. I mean, it's... For one, it's difficult being the one who dissents, right? So to disagree with someone should be welcomed, I would say. It's very courageous to do so. In the face of a whole team saying this, to be the person that speaks up and suggests otherwise, I think is a very powerful thing. We should be encouraging that as much as possible, not perhaps looking down on people for it. Obviously, in a time pressure game on this one, we just need a decision, and it's a bit of it can be easy to do that. But if this was a real life scenario and someone said, "Hey, I'm not sure on this, and here's why," we should be open to listening to them about it and share what they, share their. There might be a very good reason. It could be relating to an estimate, and they've worked on an area of a code 100 times before, and it was actually really easy, or maybe they know where stakeholders is really complex, and they keep changing their mind, and they want to add a bit more because of complexity when they're estimates. There could be lots of reasons that we weren't bearing in mind because we can only base things on our existing knowledge of a situation.
The Donald Trump example is obviously a great one because it can be that divisive, but it's, the personality and the person who can make that call could so often be very similar to the quiet developer in the corner who's sitting there going, I know we've got all this business stuff to do, but if we don't fix this bit of tech debt, our system's going to fall over in the next week. And everyone just sits there and goes, yeah, but that's not going to get us value, so we're not going to do that. We're just going to ignore you.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Jason.
I was going to say that, in this game, it was a bit like decision by committee. So, having a voice takes ownership for making that final decision might speed up the process.
Well, this is where the product owner comes in, doesn't it? This is where the product owner is that final arbiter of what gets worked on. But they should be enabling the team to have a voice and share their thoughts. I would say if a developer is saying, hey, we've really got this tech debt item that we need to look at, it should be in the backlog and prioritise alongside other things accordingly. But it will be the product owner that says yay or nay. Because the product owner is responsible for getting maximum value out of the team, but the team should still have a voice.
I did find it interesting that nobody assigned a product owner to start the exercise and say they're going to have the final call if we can't decide.
Well, I was trying to be the product owner for Team Sonic. Nobody allowed me.
You're a bad product owner, man. No one would have selected you.
Right, no, next week I'm going to announce myself I am the dictator/product owner.
It's going to be huge when you do that.
Yeah, maybe one thing around this that I like is regarding the hippo decision or the final decision maker is something that I don't know if was Richard Branson who said, if you have opinion, if you have data, let's use data. If not, let's use my opinion. So at the end, prioritizing some facts, some data, even if it's not a very, very tangible one, like this cost of delay idea, I think that is much better. But having a final decision maker is also important.
So there's obviously there's the
things like in the past, some new items like create a chart, times how often they're delivering, and then you can start creating a rough idea where they are and start putting the cost of delay. And that, I found that helps. But what I've learned from experience is always have more than one piece of data, because one graph or chart may show you one thing, but another graph or chart will show you something completely the opposite. So I tend to go with it. A lot of people say just have a lead time chart and they say, oh yeah, look, we're delivering so many tickets. But on the runtime chart, they're just getting more and more delayed, and you can see like they just, in fact, the team thinks they're really good, but on the opposite, they become really, really bad.
But you could also say, look at lead time only, and then it could represent great things, but then you look at how happy the team is, and they're miserable because they're being worked into the ground to this unsustainable development. Yeah, it's always context, coming back to what we were saying about communication earlier, is really key. A single data point on its own probably not as useful. Yasir, you wanted to say something? You've got your hand up.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking that, you know, in the recent Scrum guide, they've added the product goal and the Scrum, the sprint goal was already there. Maybe that's the direction that the team needs, because, you know, right now we have any goal that we were trying to, I mean, we're just selecting people without really having what are we trying to achieve, you know. So I mean, it could be that, okay, I mean, in this sprint we are to achieve, you know, save the sportsman, for example, or we are trying to save diversity and bring more you know, diversity. So that could have helped us in selecting, okay, who we want to select, rather than just having no goal in mind.
Possibly. I'm a fan of, so someone mentioned the hippo earlier, the highest paid person's opinion. Has anyone heard of the zebra before as an alternative product management individual? The zebra. Stands for zero evidence but really arrogant. So those product owners, those product managers who are just arbitrarily chasing after their thing, but they haven't got any data behind it. They've got their emotional gut reaction and they push regardless, even if they don't have the data to support that decision. Right. Highest paid person's opinion. Again, there's a game, another game that I've got on the backlog that we've played before called the virtual name game, and that really demonstrates in a very quick way what happens when it's just who's trying to shout loudest and how it feels to be in that situation. It's rough for the person who ends up being the developer in that game, but perhaps that's one to be played in the future. Right, I'm conscious of time. So is
the zebra one the one you?
Sorry, you were saying?
I was just going to say, is the zebra one along the lines of the rhino as well? The really high value new opportunity person.
Yeah.
Just everything they pitch is that.
Right, so just to wrap up then, so that was obviously the Agile Arcade. We meet every 2 weeks. If you'd like to connect with either I or Dan, you can do so on LinkedIn. I have a YouTube channel, The Virtual Agile Coach, where I share the recordings of these videos. There's other Agile games on there that you may find useful. And again, all of these templates are, can and will be made available to you if you would like to use them with your teams. Last of all, we always look to capture feedback from these sessions to work out whether it's been valuable to you. So we'd love for you to share your thoughts in these post notes as to what you may have found useful in this session, what went well, and what would you like to see more or less of. That will enable Dan and I to tailor these sessions going forwards, adjust them in the interest of fast feedback, and ensure that they are delivering value. Other than that, our next meeting is in 2 weeks' time, and Dan and I will be refreshing the board, adding a couple of new games in there, removing some of the existing ones because we're going to be the same games every time. We're trying to mix things up. And equally, if anyone wants playing it with an audience, if you've created a new one, if you just want to practice facilitating a game, this is a forum for you to do that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just a question, any specific reason why you're using meat butter?
Quite simply, it's free. And I also like it. The guys, I know them. They're a developing product. They are aspiring to enable facilitation of workshops and things all inside one platform, rather than having to go out to Zoom for this and this location for your whiteboard and this location polling solution. So they're trying to bring everything into one easy, usable situation, and I like what they're doing, so I'm supporting them.
Okay.
Does anyone have any feedback on meat butter? I'm sure they'd love to hear it.
Feedback on you.
On
Sorry?
meat butter.
On meat butter. If you want to feedback on me, you can do that as well.
No, it's decent. It's a decent platform.
Looks really nice. I like it. As I was mentioning in the chat, it's the first time that I have opportunity to use it, and it looks promising. I don't know which limit for people do they have? Do you know how many people can join a room and a meeting?
I'm not sure of how many, what the limit is. I've done it with maybe 30 to 40 people personally, with my experience, but I'm not sure of any limits. You may get some performance issues. As I said, they're a release startup. They are developing and releasing new versions all the time. I'm not sure how robust their infrastructure is.
You're breaking up, Chris.
There we go, just as I was talking my mouth.
Gave up on him.
Completely followed by the everything fading out. It's not a lot of it.
But they still had to go out to Miro, yeah?
What I know is that they are integrating that in the tool itself, so it would be basically a tab within the meat butter. This is.
Yeah, you can link out my.
Chris, I have a question for.
You have a question?
Chris, I got a question about the broken message game we played. Okay, never mind. I need to learn to read. All right, so up to 4 players per team. I was wondering what the max players would be on that one. So
the limit on that one, the 4 players per team, is purely because if you try and use more, you have to have a pay, or you have to create an account. So if you create a free account, if you create a free account, you can do 6 people, and then I think beyond that you need probably a paid account. And again, they are a new site as well, so I don't know what their subscription model looks like yet. For Felicity, I've just kept it to 4 people per team.
I just didn't know if there was a magic number, a sweet spot for how many people should play that game.
Chris, I've got one question. Have you read the book Retromat?
No, I thought that was a website. I didn't know it was a book.
Yeah, you can buy a book from there, and some very similar ideas to yours. Really good stuff there.
Oh, nice.
Got links there. It's an ebook, so I'll post it this week.
Sure, I'll take a look. I do know I'm a big fan of retrospectives, and I release a new template every week. So there's going to be 52 new ones I've created this year.
Just to let you know, I've been stealing your retrospectives and they're working like it.
Glad to hear it.
Yeah, so all credit goes to you. Thank you for sharing it and freely sharing it with the community.
No worries.
It's a great help, to be fair.
Right, I think we'll leave it there. Thank you for your feedback, guys. Thank you for playing Agile games with us. Look forward to potentially seeing you at a future arcade session. Otherwise, have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.